Hello, this is Mrs. Holtey, and this is a recording for our lesson on September the 14th. And the lesson title is 2.3, Relate Tenths to Decimals. Okay, so we are in your textbook, and we're on page 43. Okay, we are today taking the tenths, it's the first decimal place that we learned about, and we're relating them to decimals. Now we've done this just a small bit in our examples in the last couple of lessons. Okay, but today we're really going to get into this. There's also three ideas that we're going to learn that are new to us as we get to them in this lesson, and I'll point them out to you. Okay, let's begin. So at the end of this lesson, you need to be able to take tenths and move them from fractions or decimals. They can be represented either way, by fractions or by a decimal. Because they start off giving us a real life problem. Ty is reading a book about metamorphic rocks. He has read 7/10 of the book. What decimal describes the part of the book Ty has read? We need to underline our question. Okay, so the decimal is describing the part of the book that he has read. Okay, well here we have some yellow bolded words. So that is a signal to you that these are important and that they're vocabulary words. A decimal is a number with one or more digits to the right of the decimal. The decimal point. You can write tenths and hundredths as fractions or decimals. One way, it says, you can use a model and a place value chart. Well, here's the first idea that's a little different. This is the first example we have been shown in our textbook of a model that looks like this. We have used base 10 blocks as a model, and we have used quick draw as a model. Here they have this drawing, and it has, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This whole is divided into 10. It's just like a flat. It's just like a flat in the base 10 blocks. Okay? It has 10 divisions in it. So a fraction, this is the numerator and this is the denominator, and it has a line between it. It says shade 7/10. In a fraction, the bottom number designates how many parts the whole has been divided in, and the top number, the numerator, tells you how many you have. So if there are 10 parts, and we just counted that there are 10 in this shape, there are 10 divisions. So we have 10 parts and we have 7 of them. So you're going to shade in 7. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Think the model is divided into 10 equal parts. Each part represents 1/10. So the fraction we write is, sorry about that, is 7/10. Okay. Now here we've been working with this on Friday. We have a place value chart. 7/10 is 7/10. We have nothing in the ones place, but we have a 7 in the tenths place. Remember, a couple times you may have heard me refer to this decimal as the big fat decimal. It's small, but it's important. Okay. So we could write it as 0.07, but we would call it 7/10. Now yes, a lot of times when we read this we say 0.7 or decimal 7, but usually 0.7 or 0.7. But a better way to read this is 7/10. Let's get that in our mind. Okay. Now another way they're saying is to use a number line. It says label the number line with decimals that are equivalent to the fractions. Locate the point 7/10. Okay, well let's check out, when we see a number line, let's check out the numbers that it has on it before we start making a decision about it. So we have 0/10, we have 1/10, 2/10, all the way to 10/10. Each of these divisions is equal to 1/10. So from here to here is 1/10, and from here to here is 1/10. If you're moving from here to here, that's how you get 2 tenths. Okay? So it's asking, label the number line with decimals that are equivalent to the fraction. Okay, here they've written the decimals. 1/10 is 1/10. This is just like we did in class on Friday. 2 tenths. So 7 tenths is right here. 7 tenths. So 0.7 names the same amount as 7 tenths. So Ty read 0.7 tenths of the book. Our next question here is, how can you write 0.1 as a fraction or 1/10 as a fraction? Well, listen to how it sounds. 1/10. 1/10. Same thing. You just write it with a slash. Okay. The digit 1 is in the tenths place. This digit is in the tenths place. Okay, we're ready to turn the page. Now, here is where we have our second idea that they're introducing to us, but not really saying much about. Tara rode her bike 1 6/10 miles. What decimal describes how far she rode her bicycle? Well, if this is 6/10, okay, we know that 1, a whole number, and we have 6/10, the 6 sitting in the tenths place. Okay. But when you have a number written like this, a 1 and a fraction, it is called a mixed number. Okay. If you have a whole number, a number that is complete, and then part of another number, which means less than a whole number, you have 1 and something less than a whole number. That is called a mixed number. And they use that in a question, but they haven't yet told you what a mixed number is. So I've just tried to take care of you. Okay, you have already written a fraction as a decimal. You can also write a mixed number as a decimal. Okay, use the number line. Label the number line with equivalent mixed numbers and decimals. Locate the point 1 6/10. So here's 1 and 0/10. It's just 1. 1 1/10, 1.1. Okay, and you can fill this out accordingly. 1 2/10 is 1 2/10. 1 5/10 is 1 5/10. This is the fraction form, and these are the decimal forms. .9. Okay, so if you have 1 6/10, it's the same thing as having 1 6/10 written in a decimal form. So Tara rode her bike 1 6/10 miles. And let's go to share and show here. Write 5/10 as a fraction and as a decimal. Well, in a fraction, if you have 10 parts, 10 parts makes your whole has been divided into 10 parts, and you have 5 of them, you're going to write 5/10. And a decimal, you're going to write 0.5 or 0.5. Now, let's take our new way of modeling things, and if there's 10, and there are 10 divisions here, and you have 5 of them, so you're going to shade in 5 of those spots. Well, now take a step back and look at this. Didn't we shade in half? Isn't 5 half of 10? Okay, well, it is. Your eye is, you're seeing clearly, because 5/10 and 0.5 is the same thing as 1/2, or saying half. Okay, this is just bonus information. Now, write the fraction or mixed number and the decimal shown by the model. Well, remember what a flat represents now. A flat represents 1. So we have one whole, we have another whole. So down here I've written it, I'm counting 1, 2, and then I have 2 parts, but it's 2 of 10 parts, so it's 2/10. So the answer is 2 2/10, or 2 2/10. Sorry, this is not dark enough. 2 and 2/10. You have 2 holes, 1 hole here, 1, and then a second one, and then you have just part of this third one. You don't have the whole thing, you just have 2/10 of it. Okay, so I hope you're beginning to get a little more comfortable with this idea of 2/10 in a fraction form and 2/10 in the decimal form. Okay, here's question number 3. What is the number shown? Well, here's the point shown on the number line. Okay, again, let's look at our number line. It starts at 0 and it ends at 1. So 0.5 is halfway. Just like we said up here. 0.5 is half. So this 0.5 is right in the middle. So what are each of these divisions? We go 1, 2, 3. This would be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. We've got to keep counting till we get to here. 5, 6, 7, 8/10. So we write it 8/10 in a decimal form or 8/10 in a fraction form. Okay, we're comfortable with either one. Okay, on page 45, moving right along, 45, we get our third idea that is a little bit new to us. It says, use the table for questions 4 through 7. Well, let's look at the table. Raymond's rock collection. He has all these different kinds of rocks, and there are 3 different types. We have this group, we have this group, and we have this group. Okay. Well, let's count how many different names of what are different kinds of rocks do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I wrote a little 10 down here because we're going to need to know how many there are. And there's 3 different types. Okay, there's one type, there's another group, there's another group. Now let's see what the questions are. Okay, what part of the rocks listed in the table, I don't know how to say this word, igneous. What part of the rocks listed in the table are igneous? Okay, write your answer as a decimal. Well, what part of the rocks listed in the table is an important piece of information, so underline that. Okay. Well, how many rocks are listed in the table? There's 10. So it wants to know how many are igneous. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 are this type. So 5 of the 10. 5 of the 10 are this type. So you can write it 5 over 10. You can also write it 0.5. But the new idea here is you have a list and you have 10 different things on this list. And they want to know what part of this list is igneous types rocks. Okay, there's a question in your homework that's very similar to this. So if you find you get stuck on your homework, come back to this question. Okay, number 5 says sedimentary rocks make up what part of Raymond's collection? The key here is make up what part of his collection. We've already decided that his collection has 10 kinds of rocks in it, and they're divided into different types. It says write your answer as a fraction and in word form. Well, how many sedimentary? Well, there's 3. 3 of the 10. 3 of the 10. How much is that? Well, that's 3/10. Okay, I'll write it in fraction form. 3 over 10. And in word form, 3/10. Remember, when we're saying tenths, we need to emphasize the THS so as not to get it mixed up with tens, because they are not the same thing. The tenths, if you have 3/10, you have part of a whole. If you have 3/10, it means you have 30. Very different. The same difference between having 30, same difference as having 3/10 of a dollar, which is 30 cents, or having $3. Okay, we'll talk about money a little bit later. That's just a side thing thrown in there, the difference between 3/10 and 3. Okay, number 6. Okay, it says representations. What part of the rocks listed in the table are metamorphic? Write your answer as a fraction and as a decimal. Well, remember, we have 10 different kinds of rocks in our list. Okay, and how many are metamorphic? Well, 2 are metamorphic. So 2 of 10, this is a F. 2 of 10, so 2/10 or 2/10 in fraction form. Okay, number 7. What's the error? They keep asking us to find the error in the questions, because sometimes you can just do a simple question, but if you're going to find the mistake that somebody made, that takes a higher level of thinking. Okay. To find the mistake and be able to correct it causes you to think more. Nikki wrote the following sentence in her report. Metamorphic rocks make up 2 of Raymond's rock collection. Describe her error and give the correct answer. Well, the problem is here. How much of her list are metamorphic rocks? Well, it's only 2 of 10. So the metamorphic rocks make up 2/10 of her list, not 2. She doesn't have 2 separate lists of metamorphic rocks. Okay, she wrote 2 whole ones. She wrote 2 ones instead of 2/10. She said there were 2 wholes. Okay, let's not make that mistake. Think about what you're measuring. Okay, number 8. Which decimal is the same as 1/10, 6/10, or 3/10? Okay, so you're going to write a decimal for this number, you're going to write a decimal for this fraction, and write a decimal for this fraction. Okay, a 1/10, the decimal is 1/10, 0.1. The decimal for 6/10, 0.6. And the decimal for 3/10 is 3/10. You write the digit in the place value of the tenths. Okay, number 9. Josh wrote 3/10 of his paper on Thursday night and 5/10 of his paper on Friday night. Underline the question, how much of his paper did he complete on Friday night? Written as a decimal. He wrote 5/10. I came back and circled this because this is the information that we need to use. I underlined the question and I circled the important information. 5/10 of his paper was written on Friday night. So I write 5/10. 5/10. I just write 5 and make sure the decimal indicates where the place value tenths is. So he wrote half of his paper on Friday night. Basically, he got started on Thursday night and then he wrote half of it on Friday night. So he still has some parts of it to write. Okay. You can pause the video, and I would like for you, before you pause the video, I would like for you to work page 46. So pause the video and work page 46, and then I want to give you the answers and you can check your work. Okay. Okay, number 10. Narwhal whales can weigh as much as 1 8/10 tons. What is 1 8/10 written as a decimal form? Before you even look at the answers, write what you think the answer is. 1 8/10, and then match it up. D, 1 8/10. Number 11 involves a number line. Now we can do this. What fraction and decimal are shown by the point? Well, here it is. We start off at 0, we have 0.5, and we have 1. So the 0.5 is right in the middle. So what do these lines measure? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We checked it out. This gets us to 5. So this is 0.3. 1, 2, 3. Another way to write that is 3/10. Okay, so find the answer that matches up. 3/10 and 0.3. Yes, I could write 0.3. Number 12. Which shows a way to write 0.7 as a fraction? Well, I come over to the side and I write it as a fraction. what I think before I look at the answers. Then I match it up. C is 7/10. Okay. Rosa has a bookshelf where she stores her book collection. 4/10 of her books are mystery books. What is this amount written as a decimal? Well, underline the question. 4/10 is going to give us the answer. 4/10. 4/10. But we need it written as a decimal. Okay, she has 10 books and 4 of them are mysteries. But let's write it as a decimal. Well, 4, we're going to put 4 in the tenths place value, so we'd put the decimal right before the 4. Okay, I hope these things are starting to make a connection in your mind. Even if you don't understand it entirely, you're able to do it. Okay, when you get to a stuck point in math, that is okay. We're not going to leave you stuck. You have to keep working through it. Remember, I said sometimes you're going to go through the questions here and it's not going to make sense until you do a few more questions. Okay. Now, I want you to work page 47 and 48. Okay. Now, questions 4 and 5 is talking of, it's where you have to go back and you have to count. It's about coins, and you have to count all the coins to see how many coins you have. Okay, that didn't make any sense. Let's try that again. Okay, it says on number 4 and 5, you look at these coins. How many total coins do you have? Okay, you have 3 dimes, 4 pennies, 2 quarters, and a nickel. All right, how many do you have in total? Okay, you have to know the total before you can figure out what part of the coins are dimes. 3 and 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10. Oh, now my pencil's broken. I know, you have pencil problems at home too. You have 10 coins total in all. Okay, I want you to do page 47 and 48, and you will find a form for that listed also, if I can upload that correctly today. Thank you. Send me a message in Teams if you have a problem. Thank you and goodbye.